providing the missing link between American jug band blues and what we now think of as rock and roll. Now, I'll be honest with you, I love skiffle. In fact, I've been playing double bass in skiffle bands for the past 20 years, proudly flying the flag for this most disreputable of musical forms. Oh love, we can we love. Oh love, can we love. Oh love, can we love. What can we love? Well, where my money used to go. Where my money used to go, Lord. Where my money used to go. You are always standing at my door. Although it was a uniquely British phenomenon, skiffle has its roots in the music of the American South, in the anarchic jazz of New Orleans jug and washboard bands, and the folk blues of artists like Leadbelly. The man responsible for bringing it to the UK was British jazz legend Ken Collier.
In the late 40s, there were a lot of British lads who wanted to play New Orleans jazz. One of these lads, a guy named Ken Collier, had this brilliant idea that he would go to New Orleans, where he found, not the actual musicians, but he did find the sort of Asian remnants of some of their sidemen, and he sat in with them and he played with them. And he was put in jail in New Orleans, which did incredible for his kudos when he got back. I was in jail in New Orleans, if you can imagine. And he came back to England in 52, and he got in with these musicians.
Ken Collier's jazz men included banjo player Tony Donegan, later known as Lonnie, and upcoming band leader Chris Barber, who would entertain the crowd with raucous skiffle numbers in the intervals between jazz sets.
They wanted to kind of educate the audience, so halfway through the gig they kind of down tools, put their brass instruments down, and they picked up acoustic guitars and they played these old 3-chord sort of souped-up blues songs. And gradually, this, among the young people, this aspect of it became more and more popular, and the word that Collier brought back from America with him for this type of music was skiffle.
Indeed, it became so popular that when they needed some material to pack out a jazz album, they decided to cut a couple of skiffle tracks, and one of them was an up-tempo reworking of the Leadbelly standard Rock Island Line. The appeal of Rock Island Line, with its rattling washboard and increasingly frenetic pace, boosted the album's sales so much that in 1956 it was released as a single. The result was a hit which stayed in the UK top 20 for months. The simplicity of skiffle's 3-chord structure and the ease with which this new kind of music could be imitated led to hundreds of skiffle groups being formed. Of course, the great appeal was that with skiffle, your first stop wasn't the music shop, but the hardware store. If you had a tea chest and a broom handle, then you were off. The most basic of skiffle instruments was the tea chest bass, a resonating box, a stick of wood, and a piece of twine, or, if you're posh, a gut string to imitate the sound of a double bass. As for drums, if you can't afford an expensive kit, make do with one of these. Between them, the washboard and the tea chest bass formed the basis of the skiffle sound. Domestic appliances turned to musical effects by proto-punk rockers. Lonnie Donegan became an inspiration to every aspiring teen musician in Britain. In fact, besides the Beatles, almost all of the 60s musical icons we revere today had at one time or another been in a skiffle group. Alan Clark and Graham Nash of the Hollies first started out in a skiffle outfit for 2 teens. Various Rolling Stones, including Mick Jagger, served their time at the skiffle coalface. As for Led Zeppelin, if it wasn't for skiffle, then Jimmy Page may have taken a different career path entirely. What are your two names? Yours is?
James Page and...
Very good house. Kenny Wilmer, what are you going to do when you leave school? Take up skiffle?
No, I want to do biological research.
What skiffle is like a boot camp for rock and roll. It's the thing that gets you into shape, and anyone can do it. If you can find a t-shirt, if you can find a washboard, if you can find an acoustic guitar, anyone can have a bash at this, and you can get up and running.
To use in modern parlance, skiffle is viral. You know, you teach a kid 3 chords, he teaches his mates 3 chords, they teach their mates 3 chords, consequently everybody can do it. And that was the original sort of punk, if you like, you know, learn 3 chords and now form a band. That's exactly the punk ethic of 1977.
From these humble homespun beginnings grew a musical movement that would give birth to rock and roll, although crucially, in its earliest electrified stages, this emergent rocking racket remained true to the first laws of skiffle. If you can't carry it, you can't play it. And no bloody drums. Number 909, you're popping in that line. Number 909, you're popping in that line. Yeah, we are here, oh, I just can't keep from crying. Well, I'm thinking back down this morning, she didn't say goodbye. Every time I hear that whistle, tears come to my eyes. Number 909, you're my baby down the line. Yeah, we are here in motion, oh, I just can't keep from crying. The UK skiffle craze was actually fairly short-lived, as the genre's jug band roots gave way to the inevitable ascent of drum-pounding rock, more's the pity. The quarrymen put away their washboard and became the Beatles, and skiffle became little more than a footnote in pop's evolution from blues to prog, except, of course, for those die-hard enthusiasts who remember that if you hadn't had skiffle, you'd never have had rock and roll. Number 909.
The reason why skiffle is important is because it's the pre-history of British rock and roll. Everything that was cool about British rock in the 60s, everything from the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Small Faces, Led Zeppelin, all those guys learned to play music by playing skiffle. It was open to everyone, it was utterly democratic, it was 3 chords and the truth.
A man of multi